All right, guys. Our next guest is a true icon and pioneer of Australasian combat sports with a fighting career spanning over 20 years, known for his jaw-shattering knockouts in K1 Pride and the UFC. He now returns to take on Paul Gallen in a boxing match on December 16th at Bankwest Stadium. The juggernaut, the Super Samoan himself. There's only one Mark Hunt. Welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you, man?
Hey, guys. It's nice to be back on your show, and thanks for inviting me.
Dude, it is great to have you back. And let me tell you, it's been a little while since we've last spoken. I know you've been getting ready for this Paul Gallen fight for almost a year now because of COVID. But how does it feel to actually be returning and have this fight officially lined up and in front of people?
Oh, yeah, it feels really good. They asked me like 5 years ago to do this match, but we finally got it locked down. And, it's funny that going through a breakup and everything, and I'm here actually in Newcastle, and one of the owners just come in to their place, and I'm like, this fight was supposed to happen in May, and here we are going on towards December at the end of the year. It's been like nearly a whole year up here, so it's finally to be able to try and end my career on a happy note, and move on. So I'm looking forward to it.
When you said that it was offered to you 5 years ago, you were obviously still under UFC contract. Did you guys try to explain to the UFC what the deal was? Was there any possibility of doing it? Did they even consider it, or was it an instant no because of the contract with the company?
Yeah, it was an instant no. There's no point even approaching them for it. If they don't make no money from it, there's no point in doing it. So there was no point in actually speaking to them about it, to be honest.
Were you interested back then, 5 years ago? Was Paul Gallen sort of on your radar at all?
Well, not really, because I'm not really. I haven't even got a boxing one. I've only had 2 pro fights, and one was a loss and one was a draw. But I actually know Paul Gallen. I've had a couple of lunches with him, and he seems like a nice guy. I just, even because the fight was offered with 2 of them, with Lucas Brown and Paul Gallen. But funny story for both of them. I know both of them. I got Lucas into fighting, and I've had a couple of lunches with Paul, but like I said, it's not my business who they decide they want to pick a fight with. But, I was at a point where I couldn't do anything, but now I'm at a point where ending my career on a happy note, which is good. I can make some money, pay for these fucking lawsuits, going through a divorce. Everything is it's actually pretty good timing, to be honest. And it's actually good. It's here at home against Paul, and, I supported him with watching his fights, and when he fought Barry Hall, and he's come to a couple of mine. So I'm looking forward to finally putting a nail in this coffin and ending my career on a happy note.
Well, I was gonna ask you about these lunches with Paul Gallen. I'm dying to find out what kind of lunches these were. But you did mention obviously some of the stuff you've been going through. So for fans who may not know, and I'm obviously curious as well personally, what have you been up to sort of for the last couple of years? I believe it was December of 2018 we last saw you in action. What have the last 2 years been like? What have you sort of been working on?
It's been great. I've been working on businesses. Me and my ex-partner, we're still best friends. We have kids together. We have businesses together. We're working on gyms, recovery centers. I have some good business partners. After 46 years of work and being ripped off by all these shonky people, I finally met some good, honest business people. So I've been hanging a lot, getting to know how the business works with gyms and different things. And COVID's, it's been pretty good, to be honest. COVID's hasn't been good for the whole world and a lot of people, especially with financially and everything. But things have been good, with COVID and everything. I think for me, it's been an eye opener, and focusing on other things such as businesses. But when this came to fruition, I thought it's a good time for me to get back and finish my career on a happy note instead of being such a bitter person, especially with the UFC and these lawsuits, because it's taken up a lot of my time. I mean, the other lawsuit's been 6 years. These guys have been going at it with the UFC. It's costed them, the UFC, about $80 million US. And now that's about to come to fruition on the 23rd of November. And it's going to be a big blow for the UFC that they've got to sort this out properly. My lawsuit's ending. Well, the appeal stage is ending soon. And, for me, I'd like to go to a trial. But, I did try to. I did talk to Danny years and years ago about ending this, but I know he had no choice in doing it. But here we are now, for this personal lawsuit 3 years later, and they're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm just curious, when you spoke to Dana, when was this? This was obviously after the Lesnar fight, after you guys were sort of already in court?
Well, it was after, because it was the sixth guy that put me on to fight, after the sixth cheater, the seventh cheater, where I said, first couple of times I said, do something about it. They wouldn't do anything about it. I broke my hand with Bigfoot. I said, do something. They wouldn't do anything about it. So, I mean, the straw that broke the camel's back was the Lesnar fight, where I said, you guys aren't doing anything about it, and I'm the only one suffering here. So you guys are going to pay for this, and here's a lawsuit. So they ended up just, they said to fight Josh Barnett, who's another cheater. I said, look, put a clause in the contract that all his funds gets removed from it, and then I'll do the fight. They said no, and then 2 days later, that guy passed for steroids, and I'm sitting there laughing at them. But the thing is, they come back at me and say, I want you to fight a guy named Alistair Overeem, who's another cheater. I said the same thing again. But this time I said to them, this time they said to me, if you don't take this fight, we're gonna fire you. So, you've heard Dana White say we don't force people to do what they don't want to do, but in this case they did. They said, you either fight this guy or we're firing you. They even sent a letter. They did a lot of things to try and put me off the game. So, that's how it ended up being bitter, and this lawsuit was on. So I asked Dana to sort this out by taking Brock Lesnar's money or not paying him a cent, but he wouldn't do it. They sent a letter to me saying we'll fulfill our obligations to Brock Lesnar, and you're shit out of luck, mate. And I'm like, wow, okay. So, I do understand why they wouldn't do anything to Brock Lesnar, because at the end of the day, if they tried anything to him, he would have told the truth and said, this is what actually happened, which puts those guys in jail, which I feel. So I feel they conspired, colluded together, and to make the sale of this company, because at that stage they were selling the UFC to WME, which they sold for like $4 billion or some garbage. So, these are all facts. These are all the stuff that's happened. It's actually not made up shit. That's shit that's happened.
You mentioned that December 23rd, some stuff is going to come out. So what did you mean by that? So is that one of the lawsuits? It's going to come to a sort of opening on December 23rd this year. What kind of stuff would we find out from that one?
Well, it's going to be classified, the Ali Act, the classification of that lawsuit. So it won't be just us 8 suing these companies. It'll be us 8 or 11. It'll be 1,200 of the fighters from 2010 to 2019. So for a whole decade, you've got 1,200 employees, I think. That's how much they had on the roster. And they have to pay what they earned. I earned about $6 million. You remember, you got a guy named Conor McGregor, and then he earned about $100 million. So I think that's times by three times. So, they're up for a lot of money.
Unbelievable. And I know your lawyer, Reg Singh, he was sort of saying that things are swinging in your favor. How do you think this sort of would change the sport if this goes, the way of the people who are suing him?
Well, no doubt the Ali Act will change it from being 15 or 16% to at least 50% in favor of the fighters. They're getting paid 16% right now as it is, and that shouldn't be the case, especially for the way the UFC works. The way they, it'll be like boxing or the NBA or things like this, and that's what we want with the Ali Act. On my personal lawsuit, it's going to be going to. Yeah, good to see you. Nice of you to take it easy. Yeah. So on my personal lawsuit, it's about the steroids and making it an even playing field. I never got a fair go with this company. They keep putting these cheaters and putting them before health, money before health, people with fighters' health. And that got to a stage where I just had enough of it, and I wasn't getting anywhere. So this will change. It'll go to trial, which is where I want to go with this lawsuit, and then we'll see what actually happens with this. We'll see what else they're hiding in their coffers. These guys, what other tricks of the trade they've been using to rip people off.
Looking back on your run in the UFC, and I mean your MMA run in general, so many historic moments, so many big wins. Do you have any sort of positive memories at all about your time there? I know you had some pretty big marquee wins, some ground changing moments there that a lot of fans really enjoyed. Is there any positive sort of memories for you there, or is it all just kind of negative because of what's gone down with all this lawsuit and you having to face a lot of these people who were cheating?
Yeah, it's gone real negative because the bad outweigh the good memories, because at the end of the day I ended up fighting against them and not the actual competitors, not fighting for that world title, fighting to make it even, and realizing this isn't a fair fight here, and I'm never going to get anywhere unless I actually put a lawsuit against these guys, because that it just ended up being bitter. Like I said, all the good memories were drowned out by the bad. Because every time I went to do interviews and doing media week, all I was doing was arguing with these guys about how corrupt this company is, and they're like, "What are you fighting for?" Well, they owe me money. What am I supposed to do? You know, they don't want me to go anywhere else. How am I going to make a living to feed my family? Because these guys are just crooked. Think about it.
Were they saying stuff to you during media week, like not to talk about it? And
do you honestly think they can tell me anything, especially if I tell their boss to go and fuck himself? I don't give a fuck about them all telling me what to do. I'll do what I want when it comes to these things, because these guys have been doing it the wrong way from the get-go. You know, they didn't give a fuck about us. So why the fuck should we listen to their bullshit?
Just out of curiosity, what are you doing at the moment? I feel like this is your Counter-Strike days, and I don't mind it. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm actually just playing. I'm in a comp game.
Yes. Yeah. This is like the most old school. I remember reading your book.
I'm just playing in a comp game, and these guys are talking about. I've got no headset on, and I'm just playing one of the most toxic and racist games ever, with full of fucking cheaters. And I'm here to hear about fucking cheaters on my fight career.
I love it. I'm just impressed that you can multitask like that. Do the interview, play Counter-Strike. Jeez, I can't even do one thing at a time.
I've actually got one kill him at the bottom at the moment, but I'm just going to tell him I'm on the phone.
Oh, you can keep playing, and then by the end of the interview, we'll find out how many kills you've got.
About your phone, get off the fucking phone.
Well, I wanted to ask you, because I know that with a lot of the lawsuit stuff, you're doing this, for the new generations. But with this Paul Gallen fight, how would you compare the circumstances and the treatment to, say, the UFC? How would you compare the money that you're earning for this fight to the UFC? And are you getting a revenue share of pay-per-view or anything like that?
Well, the deal is made. I made the deal on my terms, talking about this deal. It was good to deal with these guys and making a proper deal. Like I said, this fight you get more. I get the same amount as I was getting with the UFC. I get a share of this and that because I cut it myself. With the UFC, you don't get all this stuff. I get to find sponsors, get to do all this stuff myself. And like I said, it's not all one-sided in this negotiation. It's been a fair deal. And like I said, everyone's got to eat at this table. So that's how it is. With the UFC, they give you, take this, otherwise piss off. Shouldn't be like that.
The interesting thing with this fight is obviously you guys have had lunches together. Paul really respects you. You've given him tickets to previous fights before, so there's a relationship there, and I like the respect there as well. I'm curious, what do you think of Paul's run in his boxing so far? He's been able to get 9 wins. He had that one draw against Barry Hall as well. Have you been impressed with what he's been able to do in the sort of his second career in sports after he got done playing footy?
I mean, he's got a better record than I have. I can't really say shit about his record. He's got a 9-0 record. I mean, I was at the Barry Hall fight. I think it was a pretty good fight. But I don't think any of those fighters dragged them into the waters and to the deep waters. And for the boxing fight, the last one, 1.5 minutes fighting isn't. I don't even know how they break a sweat with that one, but it is what it is. I'm not really impressed with that. But like I said, he's got a better record than mine, and I can't really say shit about it.
Did you think it was a draw, or a lot of people weren't that sure about the outcome of that one?
It was quite even from what I saw. I was just drunk anyway. I was joining with all the hooting and harring, the cheering of people. So I enjoyed myself for that night. Watching the fights there, it was fun.
I guess what's interesting is you fought in so many different sports, so many different promotions, and he's obviously having this second run, but he doesn't have the experience that you do. When you look at him, do you think there's anything that he can sort of threaten you with? And also leading into this fight, it seems like he wants to outpoint you and wants to kind of play the long game in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, he'd probably have me on the fitness, to be honest, but your fitness doesn't last long when you get hit and tagged. I mean, your fitness goes out the window. So the bottom line is that's where his end game is. But I mean, boxing's a different ball game altogether, and I've realized that it's something I've been working on with my coaches, Richie and Rob Fogarty, which is really good. That they're great for. That's why I'm up here in Newcastle for it. Well, one of the reasons I am, but it's a different sort of game from MMA and all that sort of jazz. So boxing is boxing, and got to put the work in, which is good.
Just to get an update, how many kills do you have now? Or are you still down the bottom of the ladder?
I've only got 1 kill because I'm talking to you guys.
Don't blame us.
Shit.
Oh no.
No, I'm not blaming you guys. I'm just saying. I mean, my teammates will be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Yeah.
Apologize. It'll be funny when this video comes out.
Hey, but we're leading anyway. Look at the score. It's 5-1 anyway. So
sick.
Look at me, Strange at the bottom.
You got to
It's 5-1 anyway. They can't keep me because I'm lobbied up with 2 others. So.
Speaking of lobbying up with people, we saw that Paul Gallen. Is it true? Did he get some sparring in with Tyson, Pedro, and Tuivasa leading into this fight? Have you heard anything about this? Apparently, we saw some of this was happening.
I have no idea. No, like I said, you can get all the sparring you want from whoever you want. So, end of the day, I've met a few guys that do sparring and also, but like I said, that's spar with whoever you want, man. The D-Day comes along, man. You better be ready because I'll be fucking quadrupling those jabs to your lips.
It's good to hear because I know he was sort of saying that he was finding it hard to find sparring partners in lead up to the fight. I think a lot of people have a lot of respect for you, especially in the Sydney area, and they're like, I
don't find it hard. I have a lot of people wanting to help me with sparring. I mean, I'm sparring a lot of young guys. I mean, I've got a young Tommy here and also Tristan here.
But for him,
champs.
Paul couldn't get sparring partners because people like you too much in Sydney. They don't want to help a guy who, because...
Yeah, well, I heard that. Like I said, I know one of the guys he's sparring with, but I don't understand why everyone dislikes him. I mean, I don't know if it's real dislike or I don't know, but I seem to find him, he's not a bad guy. It is what he does to do this, and I think it's great. I just, I don't know. I can't really say. I just, like I said, he's picked a fight with me, and he's made a good deal, and let's see if you can progress your career further.
When did you guys first meet? I'm just curious. You hear about these lunches, and it's just not something you hear about most people who are going to fight each other.
It was only lunch a couple of times, to be honest, and I met him through a guy named Jason Stevens, he's from Cronulla. What do you play? Damn. Anyway, so Jason Stevens, as I went through a phase of going to churches and being an evangelist, especially with Christianity. I met Jason Stevens, who's still a Christian, and knows Paul really well, playing with Cronulla, and I have respect for Jason because and also that's how I met Paul. So, yeah.
Got to just double check where the future lies. I know you've mentioned that it's kind of like you're finishing up your career on a positive note, but are you still planning on going back to MMA, or is this kind of like a dry run at maybe a few boxing matches to finish things off for you?
Well, of course I want to do this because this offer was good here for the boxing. I mean, I was talking to a few different companies about doing MMA, but it's hard. I think a lot of people are scared to touch me, especially with me suing the UFC. I mean, I don't know how they feel about things, but my suing those guys was purely because I had to. It wasn't because I just had to. I just couldn't sit there while they were doing this. Not only to me, but how they do all this shit to all these fighters. And me joining the antitrust lawsuit guys was because at the end of the day, 16% of the share revenue of whatever they're making isn't good enough. And that's not just for me, that's for all the fighters. And I probably, it's ridiculous. I mean, why? Like I said to many reporters and many podcasts, there's no money, there's no prestige in that title, in the UFC title. There's no money in that title, and that's not just me telling you. That's you can see from the evidence that everyone's doing it. That why would you want to be a UFC fighter? Why would you want to be the heavyweight champion of UFC? Why would you want to be the champion of these things when they're just fucking paying them 16%. It's garbage. Honestly, it's only garbage. When people say to me about being a UFC fighter, I just sit there, I cringe and I laugh and say, "Wow, you're the world champion of wanting to ask for more money." Because there's no money and there's no prestige. I mean, you look at the boxing title, when you make it there, you make it there. You know, when you make it to Anthony Joshua status, Joseph Parker, Tyson Fury, you make it. One fight's $100 million, $50 million. I mean, Conor made that money when he transcended the boxing. So what's the point of being a UFC fighter?
I totally see your point. I am curious, though, which companies reached out to you? Which companies wanted to bring you on for MMA?
Well, I can't talk about the companies I was speaking to, but it just never came to fruition. I talked to bare knuckle, but I talked to them, but just like I said, they're probably just scared. They didn't want to touch someone like me that's they think is volatile. And the truth of the fact that a lot of these people talk to me about, like, I've got no chance in this lawsuit, or haven't got a shit show in hell because they've got billions of dollars. Yeah, but that's all I wanted was an even playing field and a fair go. That's why this lawsuit's here. It is. And I mean, and if you look at the appeal court hearing, you look at these judges and you think, man, these judges are thinking, what the fuck is this even doing here? How is this even here? These guys are just crooks, and why is this even in before us? This is just wasting our time. I mean, the fact that their lawyers say that everyone cheats and you can't get a positive outcome, especially Brock Lesnar's lawyer saying that everyone has to be worried about getting caught testing positive. What a load of bullshit. It's just because your man got caught. And he tries to tar that brush with everyone, if you know what I'm saying. And you can see that that hearing, that public hearing of the appeals was public. And I didn't realize that till just yesterday. Then I just put it up. People can watch their link and watch these judges and my lawyer and their lawyers talk about the whole scenario. And for me, I've watched it like a few times, and it's just ridiculous. It just makes me sit there and go, wow, I think these guys are going to shoot you, because it does shine a light on how the rules are and how the laws need to be changed. And, it could change a lot of things, especially with the doping and how their contracts are working.
Yeah, well, 100%. It'd be a massive game changer if it actually goes through. And, it would change the sport massively. Speaking of game changers, we do have to remind you that the absolute best way to shave your balls is with Manscaped.com's Lawnmower 3.0. It will not cut you. It's got 7,000 RPMs. It's got an LED light for all those tough to spot nooks and crannies. It's waterproof. It is literally the best groomer you will ever find. And our good friends at Manscaped are giving away 20% off with the code submission. You can use the link down below. Isn't that right, Dennis?
That's right, man. And so many other great products there, like the ball deodorant, the foot duster that I've got right here, which is an absolute lifesaver when it comes to summertime sports and just walking around here in Australia during the harsh summers. Jump on manscaped.com right now and use the code word submission for 20% off and free shipping. How good?
Also, if you are like Mark, playing Counter-Strike online, playing video games online, downloading all sorts of stuff, streaming things, you need to be doing that safely on the internet so that people can't hack you and steal your information. That is where a VPN comes in handy, and PureVPN are giving away an excellent deal where you can go monthly for $10.95 USD. You can go the 5-year special, which is just outrageous, at $1.48 a month, which is 86% off, or you can just go a cheeky 1-year deal where it's only $4.16 a month, which is 62% off. And if you use the code submission and follow the link below, you get a further 10% off. So these savings are absolutely outrageous, and it'll help you do all those things safely. Also, if you're playing things like Steam, you can potentially get better rates because of the region change, and you can get further discounts. Isn't that right, Dennis?
Right now, with Christmas coming up and money being not that great for a lot of people, why not save some cash and really make a difference? Jump onto our purevpn.com/submission submission link right now. Use the code word submission, get an extra 10% off, and browse the web securely, Cass, because right now you don't want to be a noob, as the kids call them. You want to know what you're doing and do it with PureVPN. But Mark, you're having this warm-up fight with Paul Gallen, and I'm wondering, if all goes to plan, With Mike Tyson also returning to the ring for the big fight against Roy Jones Jr., would you be interested in possibly fighting Mike Tyson in the Legends League in the future if this boxing return goes to plan and the opportunity is there?
Well, it's not. You little prick. It's not. It's not my return to boxing. It's just like I said. It was a good offer.
Mm.
I finally I don't have to worry about the lawsuits. It's an whatever happens with the lawsuit happens. I can't do much about it. It's good money that was offered. I mean, these guys are fair guys I'm dealing with, and everyone gets to get a fair share on this table. It's not just one-sided, and you know, it's here at home, which is important for me because you know. And it's not a comeback. Like I'm a fighter at heart. I wanted to finish my career happy instead of being so bitter at fighting and fighting in general, especially how they run things. I mean, yeah. So it was a good offer. Things have worked out well. We made a good deal, and you know, it'll be one of the biggest events in fighting on this card here in my hometown, which is I think it's awesome. So, what better way to finish it off with a couple of boxing fights and then move on with everything.
So is it possible that this is the last time, or is there still a couple more fights after this, you imagine?
Well, I want to have 6 more fights, to be honest, and finish my career happy. Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah, that's what you get.
You got it? You got it? Give us a look.
Two of them up mid. Now I've got 3 kills. Actually, 4 kills.
Nice.
Damn. Anyway, so yeah, just finishing my career on a happy note, and not being so bitter at fighting, at how they've treated me, and not only just me, with other fighters also, with how they keep ripping people off.
Mm. I feel like we want that, and also the fans want that as well, because we saw obviously the change in sort of. I think everybody wants you to finish sort of your career,
because I think especially the fighters, especially the fans, because like I said, but what's the point of fighting to be the best, to be the best in the world at anything, if you don't get any fruits of the labor? What's the point of it?
Mm.
I mean, people say they love to do it for nothing. Well, let's see if you can live on that doing it for nothing.
Mm. Just quickly before you let you go, Mark, and by the way, appreciate the time. I wanted to ask you, I don't know how much you watch the sport anymore. I don't know how much you watch, the UFC because of what's happened, but obviously...
I don't.
You what, sorry?
I don't. Like I said to you, I just explained to you, I mean, why would I want to support a company that's ripping off fighters? And when I see new fighters get signed and think that it's great for them, I'm like, it's a joke. I said, it just makes me cringe when I see this. I go, you guys are getting hammered for nothing.
Have you been able to sort of see anything from Israel and Adesanya? Because that's the guy that I wanted to ask you about. I know obviously you originally being from New Zealand, you would think that you'd be super happy to see him sort of flying the flag for Australasian MMA and obviously doing massive things. Have you been able to check out anything from Israel? Because I know you guys have somewhat of a relationship.
Well, I mean, I know Izzy, and I know all the CKB boys, and like I said, he's doing good things in the sport, and I think it's great. And I always knew he was going to get there, because I did talk to Dana about him a long time ago before he actually got signed.
Really? When?
And I told Dana, I said, "There's this guy. He's a great fighter. He's amazing. I've seen him do kickboxing. I mean, even before they were trying to get him, and I knew that he's world class already, because I've seen him. A friend of mine took me to watch him kickboxing. Reminisce took me to watch him do a kickboxing fight in New Zealand, and like I said, I did message Dana a long time ago about Izzy and how talented this kid was. His mind for fighting is amazing. He's done boxing, kickboxing, and I knew he was the new era in fighting. And I messaged the Dana, he wouldn't have a bar rip. And look, 3, 4, 5 years later down the track, Izzy's headlining. He's the new guy. And what I did see him speak about was the weight cut thing, and I do realize that. Because Izzy's not a dumb person. He's a smart fighter. That's why he's so talented. But he talked about a weight cut thingy. And I think Dana didn't see that and realize he's talking about weight cut now. But, it'll only take time before he realizes that the money and the revenue share should be talked about.
Mm.
And that's coming. So what do you think they're going to do? They're going to try and do the same thing they did with Jones, is how do we keep this guy quiet? How do we shut them up? We need them to lose. How did they do these things? You know what I mean? They're not dumb. These people that making these kinds of money can see all this and realize this what's happening. So why would anyone want to change what's happening already when they're getting paid fruitfully off all the blood and sweat of these fighters? It's just a matter of time before Izzy starts speaking up about pay and this and that. Otherwise, they have to look after him properly. And, I think he deserves everything he gets. But like I said, before he came into the UFC, and I spoke with Dana, with all these guys. I mean, Izzy and I spoke about helping me in Thailand with one of the Bigfoot camps. But, I just felt he was far more talented to help. I mean, he... as in like I needed bigger guys. Like Bigfoot isn't as talented as and technically sound like as he is. So that's why I didn't bring him along to Thailand to help. But it is the way it worked out is the way it worked out. And yeah. So like I said, I do see things, but I don't support and watch the UFC because of it. But I know who's doing well in this at the end of the day. But well, as in like making these title things and everything, I just don't feel he's making that kind of money you should be making. $5 million is a lot of money, but he's up in the bracket of $20-30 million because of all the people watching him.
And I know he has mentioned money in the past. Israel has. I think he's got a good mind for it. I'm sure you've sort of helped him sort of plant the seeds. But I also wanted to ask you. You mentioned that he's kind of
I didn't help him at all, to be honest. He's got a good team with him, like Hughes and all the guys at CKP and Dougie. They know what's up. They've seen a lot of people come and go, especially with fighting, and at the end of the day, look at this. I was just about 4 kills. Nice. Yeah, it's 3 kills. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So he's already with a group of good guys. I just feel that everyone needs to get behind it so things can get changed, especially with the Ali Act. And if they're not gonna do it, with letting it come through the Ali Act, we're going to do it militant style, and that's what we're doing now. So we're forcing the hand of these guys. And November 23rd is when this Ali Act gets classified. And you can see all Uncle Dana and Lorenzo them shitting in their undies.
So that's going to be November 23rd, or is
23rd?
It?
So yeah, it
Okay.
gets classified.
Yep.
And hopefully, oh fuck, he just blazed on me, headshot. So 23rd, hopefully it gets classified. I think the judge said he was pretty much going to classify the Ali Act, and hopefully we get it'll take a little bit longer. I think then hopefully we get to about 50% where the fighters actually get paid well, properly. It was what it should be.
I know you mentioned as well, and it's hopefully this outcome comes out. Everybody's going to be looking out on November 23rd. But just quickly before we get off Izzy, I know you mentioned that you did some work with him, and I know he's looking to maybe move up to heavyweight. I'm just curious, how do you think he would do going up to heavyweight? Do you believe that weight class will work for him just as well as middleweight and light heavyweight?
Who's that?
Israel Adesanya.
Oh, is he? Well, he's talented enough. He's tall enough. He's same height as. The same like Carlos is very tall, and he's only like 100 clicks, but they're super strong guys. Sparring with Carlos, one of the guys I used to work with. He broke my nose before the fight with Frank Mir the week before the fight, but he's talented.
Dude, like Israel or Carlos?
Carlos.
Wow.
So he's actually they're all talented. You know what I mean? These guys are real talented at what they do, and I think they're great. I just feel. They know what time it is. They know they probably see me speaking about it a lot, about a fair share. And then, like I said, who wants to fucking drive a fucking Morris Minor when you should be driving a Rolls Royce?
Yeah, 100%.
And he can move to heavyweight if he feels like it. For me, it's a lost cause right now because there's no money in that title and there's no prestige in that title. He might think $5 million to him is a lot of money. It is for what it is, but. You're talking about someone who's the elite in the world. Is like he's talking about Anthony Joshua. He's talking about, John Jones complains about money and he's making $5 million. Well, of course he should be on that $100 million a fight.
Yeah, well, especially guys that talented. I'm just wondering, you mentioned how there's sort of the new generation. It's so good to see Carlos Ulberg in the UFC now, obviously Israel as the champion. And these guys are like kickboxers who turned MMA fighters who are just doing amazing things. What do you think is sort of the biggest difference between sort of, these guys as the new generation compared to guys like yourself, who are sort of the previous generation?
Well, I don't know about previous. I'm still one of the best fighters in the fucking world.
Well, you're still there,
yeah. But that's due to their talent and their mindset and their coaching and their team. That's what it basically is. It's they can see all what's happening, and the evolution of it. I just feel you're getting more complete fighters, and right now, like I said, all my concerns about is it being fruitful and them deserving to get what they get. But right now, I don't see the point in trying to be a UFC fighter because there's nothing, there's no money in that shit, and there's none of this in it. So that's what you get. I just blazed and you fool. And yeah, that's what you get. So
got him.
That's got him. He's like, hello, dickhead. So that's all my concern. I mean, the guys, from this side of the world, I just feel, I'm trying to make things even for them on the steroid side of it and on the money side of it. And that's all that matters. All the boys and girls coming through, that if they do make it, they do actually make it. They don't have to get a fucking job after they get to a certain age, or they just have to be the best in the world. I mean, look at me, I'm 46 and still fighting, but it's because I'm fucking talented. But it is what it is.
Of course, one of the best fighters to ever do it. Let's quickly finish up with this. It's December 16th at Bankwest Stadium in Western Sydney. You versus Paul Gallen. Give us the prediction, man, as we wrap up. How do you see this one going? Paul, a friend of yours, a guy that's done it in a lot of different sports, but how do you see this fight playing out?
Well, the way I see it, I think Paul's not going to last the 6 rounds. It just depends on how fit he is, and he'll be fit. But I don't think anyone's dragged him into the deep waters for a real fight. And he's been able to get away with it with these guys. I'm not ragging on their skills or nothing, but I will take away his fitness with heavy shots, and I'll put him away with before the 6 rounds. I don't think he's going to make the 6 rounds. I don't think we're going to go to a decision with this fight. But I've been wrong before, so see what happens.
It's gonna be a classic. Obviously, Tim Tszyu also on the card, a fantastic lineup. Great to see it actually happen in Western Sydney and Bankwest Stadium with a crowd as well. It's a pretty awesome, historic night for Australian sports, guys. Make sure to follow Mark at Mark Hunt Fighter, and make sure to follow this case along November 23rd. Make sure to keep an eye on what's happening. Before
you guys go, did you see what happened with that Trump thing? Wow, damn,
yeah,
amazing, right?
Yeah. Which one specifically is in like the?
He just got pumped. The Trump and Biden thing, that was just crazy how it's ending up now. So, I think for me and the guys with the lawsuit, I think it was good that Trump got outed because only he would have been able to save these guys.
Yeah, smoking Joe Biden now taking over. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But
thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate it. Still trying to get the people, the knowledge, pushing up the knowledge to the people, and hopefully see you guys soon, and hopefully by the next time we talk, things have changed for the UFC and they've actually realized they can't keep ripping people off.